The Feathers and Field Goals podcast continues during Delaware versus WKU week, and now we get the opportunity to learn a lot more about the Hilltoppers with one of the folks who knows them the best. It's Stephen Moffett joining us now from the Topper Talk podcast. It's been great to tune in to Topper Talk on our end here this week, a fellow podcast in the CUSA podcast roundtable. So it's just a great chance to collaborate once more in the network for a conference game coming up here on Friday night on CBS Sports Network. And Moff, bringing you in now. So excited to get to talk about this WKU team because going into the season, Delaware fans, I think by and large, circling this ball game, not just because it's Parents and Family Weekend on campus in Newark, getting close to a sellout crowd, expecting what should be a sellout crowd at the Tub, but it's a WKU program that is clearly a top half operation in Conference USA, regularly in the mix for bowl contention in the league title. So Delaware fans being aware of that going in, this was one of those major matchups that would really be an indicator of how Delaware can hang with this level of competition. So to give us an idea, Moff, of overall this WKU team, how would you describe Coach Tyson Helton and his leadership style at the program? We've seen his success with the Tops and how he's come up for other jobs as a candidate, at least brought up externally as an option over the years. And so that means something if you're winning and you're getting attention in that way. But WKU having the continuity of now Coach Helton in his 7th season, just kind of the overall sense of the identity of a Tyson Helton-led team.
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. First of all, I appreciate you having me on. I always love having these collaborations with fellow podcasters, guys that are, most of the time we're doing this for free. We're doing it for the love of our programs and our schools. And like you said, we probably know these teams, these programs, these players as good as anybody, not officially affiliated with our schools. So glad to be here. Glad to talk WKU football. The Tyson Helton discussion is one I've had several times over the years. Like you said, he's in his 7th season. He is a consistent winner. You know what you're getting. You're getting 7-8 wins with Tyson Helton every single year. He's going to reload the offense. You're going to have a high flying, a lot of passing yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of scoring. He's going to find a good portal quarterback. He's been really good at navigating the transfer portal, even going back to his first and second years as a head coach with Western Kentucky. And this was before the transfer portal was NIL and the wild, wild west and transfer as many times as you want. He's always been good at dipping in there, finding talent that's looking for a new home, plugging them in here at Western Kentucky and helping them be as successful as possible. Obviously, that's changed a little bit. It's a lot more turnover, a lot less attrition. It's just it's crazy what it is these days, but he still keeps up and does a good job. The other half of that is he does real good with the staff. You mentioned, we win a lot of ball games. We're near or at the conference, top of the conference year in and year out, bowl eligible every single year. 2 championship game appearances during Helton's tenure. All that winning leads to not only players getting plucked away, but staff members getting plucked away. He's done an awesome job. I mean, we've had, new offensive coordinators almost every single year of his 7-year tenure. And that's a lot, and still have kept up the high level of expectation and the standard of this pro-rate offense. But kind of what it boils down to is Helton wins enough to be very interesting. He's an interesting candidate. He came up for Purdue a couple years ago. He came up for ECU. UAB has sniffed around, but he's never gotten over that hump, that Conference USA title hump. And I think that's what's holding him back. Last year we kind of controlled our destiny late in the season, and we kind of backpedaled into that conference championship game and then got blown out in conference championship, blown out in the bowl game. And all of a sudden his name was out of that coaching carousel. So, he wins just enough to stay relevant and exciting, but doesn't win enough to get over that hump and to get plucked away. It's kind of it's an odd and kind of a catch-22 situation to be in for us. I like winning a lot of ball games, but I would love to win a conference championship. It's been since 2015 or 16 rather. It's been a little bit of a drought, but we've had exciting football, a lot of fun wins, a lot of good games to go watch, but there's also been a lot of disappointing losses as well.
That really does seem to sum it up. At least the perception that I was looking to check from afar to see if I had it accurately. And there is nothing to sneeze at what WKU has put together, but that desire for that next step and the continuation of that this season, coming for the Hilltoppers at the Fightin' Blue Hens. And for Coach Helton, he's already surpassed 50 career wins as head coach at Western Kentucky. But the big one you're alluding to, and now weekday CUSA in October, just part of that road. We know on paper a big part of that, and in watching the video and the highlights of Western Kentucky, a big part of that pursuit will be Maverick McIver at quarterback, part of that lineage of WKU QBs who have been so successful over the years in this Helton era. How does McIver maybe compare and contrast, I guess, in some ways with those previous WKU quarterbacks, but also looking at him on his own merits, don't mean to only put him in a box and look at the comps there, because on his own right, he's already approaching 1,500 passing yards on the season. That completion percentage is about 2/3 or right at 2/3. Just seems as though with 11 passing touchdowns thus far, he's really got an idea of certainly how to spread the ball around in this offense.
Yeah, he's a really solid quarterback, and I don't know what the evaluation process is for Tyson Helton. We know a couple times it's been, let's go find a really successful FCS quarterback and let's go find him and let's pluck him up and let's bring his offensive coordinator with him. That worked for us in 2021 with Bailey Zappi and Zach Kitley. A record-breaking season, 60 plus touchdowns passing, nearly 6,000 yards passing. I mean, just obliterated records, not only at Western but in the NCAA record books that may never be broken. I'm sure they will be, but it's not going to be anytime soon, by any means, because those numbers were huge and did it in less games than the Joe Burrows of the world that had the extra playoff games and was adding to their numbers. So. But Maverick is a special talent, man. He's got a good arm. He has good control of the offense. He knows where everybody's supposed to be. He knows how to play, how the plays are supposed to develop. He can check out of plays. He's just a really cerebral leader, and he's somebody that Rick Bowie, our offensive coordinator, has talked about. Really perfects his craft on the preparation side of things, mentally with the film work and recovery of your body and rest and just everything you have to do off the field, and then getting on the field with weight room and getting reps with your receivers, and all those things it takes to be great. He's done a really good job at. I wouldn't exactly compare him to any of our former quarterback greats that we've had, from Brandon Doughty to Mike White, Austin Reed, Bailey Zappi, even Caden Veltkamp last year. We've had some good ones, sent a
Yep.
lot of them to the NFL. And I know that's a lot of the allure of quarterbacks coming to Western Kentucky. It's an offense that you're going to put up stats in, you're going to get a chance to shine in, and hopefully go to that next level. I don't know if Maverick is going to be there. Obviously, he's a little bit older of a quarterback. He's a seventh year, 25-year-old quarterback right before the season started, turned 25. I don't know if he'll go pro. He might be an undrafted free agent type guy, but he certainly has it between the ears, and that's where it starts. He has really good command. He's not out there making dumb mistakes and decisions and turning the ball over a ton. He takes care of the ball. He runs the offense. He leads the offense. But we also have yet to see this offense really play a full 60-minute game. And it's when you look at our stats, you look at 35 points per game, over 400 yards of offense per game. You're like, man, they're doing pretty good. I think we're 22 out of 26 in the red zone scoring, something like that. We're really good in a lot of statistics, but man, we have left a lot of meat on the bone this season, as far as scoring wise and just being more efficient. And that obviously starts with Maverick. That starts with Coach Rick Bowie and Tyson Helton, and just putting all the team and all the players in position to be successful. But Maverick is certainly a special quarterback. We're glad to have him at Western Kentucky. I hope he continues to grow and develop this year, as obviously I know he does have those pro aspirations.
I think that more and more over the years, the profile of pro prospect quarterback, it continues to, I guess, evolve is the cliche to use it. Having an older passer, it may mean, mid-20s. There might be a label on that going into the NFL process, but heck, that in many ways means all the more experience in high pressure situations in college. So I'm not counting Maverick out at all. That's for sure. Looking forward to seeing what he does for the whole total of the season, maybe not so much on Friday night from a Delaware perspective, sure to be a handful. A part of that offense as well, or a major part, Lavelle Wright, George Hart III. There's Marvish Parrish completing a three-headed monster at running back. It's a group that seems pretty evenly distributed in terms of the yardage and the carries, although Parrish is tops in the group in carries. Is there a difference in styles that you're seeing so far this year among the three running backs, and how valuable has that group been, the running game overall, and in propelling this offense that's in the number one spot in many categories in the conference?
Yeah, it's been a little bit surprising because Lavelle Wright is a graduate senior. George Hart III is a fifth-year senior, and Marvis Parrish is a true freshman. Came in and won the starting job, was the day one starter against Sam Houston in week 0. And I think that kind of caught everybody off guard because everybody else had penciled in one of those seniors to be the running back one, getting the first carry of the season. But I had heard all spring, summer, fall camp that watch out for this freshman. We've got this guy that's impressive. He's going to be hard to keep off the field if he gets a chance. He's good. I think the biggest part of the thing that game or difference in the game style that Marvis Parrish brings to the team is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Now, the other guys can do that as well, but they're going to be more north-south runners. They want to run through you. They want to hit the A gap and go, hit the B gap and go. Marvis Parrish is going to, if he gets the ball out in the flat or in space, he's going to dance around, do a spin move, make somebody miss, and then he might go off for another 20 yards. So he is a special talent. He's one of those ones you hate to think about it, but it's going to be tough to hold on to him after this season. And I hate that we think that way these days, but that kind of is what it is. The last couple weeks, Lavelle Wright has been an absolute workhorse for us. He took over the game versus Nevada down the stretch, put us on his back, had a touchdown, and really just helped us bleed that clock. And then did the same thing this past weekend against Missouri State. Had 2 touchdowns. Quite frankly, he should have had 3. We got down to the 1-yard line, and we're down there throwing the ball for some reason when Lavelle got us to the goal line. I was like, give it to 11. Finish the drive. But they had 11 guys in a goal line defense, so I understand why we went away from it. But man, Lavelle Wright has proven himself to be a workhorse. He is a powerful runner. He just runs through tackles. He averaged 9 yards per carry this last game. He's an impressive back. And George Hart is kind of in that same mold. He's a very powerful back as well, can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think that's why you see such an even distribution of the carries between those 3 guys. I would love to see a little bit of a more defined roles for them. Even almost to the point of I'd love to see Lavelle starting the games. And nothing against Marvis Parrish. Freshman, he's earned his time. But man, Lavelle has been really special the last couple weeks. And, I'd love to see him get hot early in the game instead of getting hot late in the game and dragging us to the finish line. Maybe give us some separation and some breathing room early in the game, which has been a little bit of an issue so far this season. But all 3 of those backs are special. They're capable. And I'm glad we have each one of them.
It's really hard to defend, needless to say, when you see a freshman emerge in a position group that way, and then it's still an evolving definition of kind of who might have what role. So that much harder to plan for in many senses for a defense. And in Western Kentucky's offense, we could spend so much additional time on it. The bevy of receivers who have been productive, or pass catchers, I should say, roping in the tight end Noah Myers as well. Delaware has prided itself on really divvying up the targets, and just it's not necessarily a clear breakaway number one, although Kyrie Duplessis has been extremely successful so far in his first season as a Blue Hen, but not necessarily focusing on all of these flashy position skill groups on offense that Delaware and Western Kentucky have both really hung their hat on. I even look at special teams as well, in the added dimension of John Cannon kicking so well for the Hilltoppers. His range on paper here, seeing 5 for 6 kicking on field goals of 40 to 49 yards. That, I would think, without seeing all the video and the live games that you've seen, that seems to really add maybe a dimension that frees up the play calling, or just gives everybody peace of mind. How has John Cannon looked with that cannon of the leg to say, get that out of the way early? How has that really helped matters for the Tops in scoring points and getting the breathing room in games?
Yeah, the special teams has been special. I mean, I hate to use that word and jump on the cliche here, but the funny thing about John Cannon is he's actually replacing Lucas Canero. We had an All American place kicker last year. He was on. I think he was Phil Steele's first or second team place kicker in the postseason last year, and then NIL transfer portal. He went to Ole Miss. He's in the SEC now. That dude had range. I mean, if you got across the 50, you were within his range. He could hit it from 60. Um, Obviously, we hated losing him. We find a kicker from South Florida named John Cannon with this awesome name for a kicker, and he's come in and has been near automatic from day one. He took that job in the spring, secured it in the fall, and he's just been as consistent as they come. I think he's just missed the one field goal this year, and it's not like he hooked it, hard right. It literally just he was on the hash and he kicked it straight, and it just feet, inches, whatever it was, outside of the upright, man. But he's been really special. Cole Maynard as a punter. I think he's number 2 right now in the nation, one of 2 punters, averaging over 50 yards per punt. He's been special. He comes from a lineage of a dad that was an NFL punter for a long time. And then our kickoff specialist, Jack Cassidy. I mean, he sends every single kick out of the back of the end zone. There's no returns, nothing to worry about from that perspective. So, John Cannon, that entire group, man, they have just been special. They've been consistent. That's a group that you don't ever want to talk about, because usually if you're talking about them, something bad happened, a bad snap, missing kicks, shanking punts, whatever it is. That group just goes out there, they have their head down, they do their job, and they do it really well.
Part of what is overall we're seeing, as usual, out of a Tyson Helton led team, a pretty sound bunch, and it's not an accident the winning seasons that you've talked about. And wrapping up, putting a bow almost all the way on our time in the segment here, can't just overlook the defenses on both sides in this game, no matter how tempting. Looking at the offensive conference category rankings for both sides, you maybe start to overlook the defense on each end. But to open the year, WKU's defense really taking advantage of Sam Houston, a Sam Houston team that was in week 0 on the road, and not taking anything away from WKU, but Western Kentucky really flexed its muscle at times defensively in that game. It seemed like really stifled North Alabama as well. Things got away early in the game against Toledo for the Tops, although I believe it was a defensive score by the Rockets that helped turn things early. So I wouldn't even necessarily put the direction of that game entirely on Western Kentucky's defense. And then the defense for the Hilltoppers most recently helping hold opponents to hovering around under 20 points in the case of the Nevada game, a win for WKU, and just over 20 points scored by Missouri State in Western Kentucky's last game. So that's just a rundown of how it's looked, just looking at the numbers. But that doesn't tell you the whole story, of course, defensively. What is the Hilltoppers' chief defensive style, or what are the key ingredients for WKU to succeed on defense?
Yeah, so we're going to run a 3-3-5 primarily. Sometimes it's kind of a 4-2-5. There's some hybrid players in there that can slide up, slide back. But the big Achilles heel for us the last couple seasons has been run defense. If you look at where we were last year, we were like a top 20 passing defense in the nation, but a bottom 10 rushing defense in the nation. It's been better this year. Teams have still seen they can run on us. Toledo ran all over us. Mobile quarterbacks have given us fits over the last 2 and 3 years. But I feel like that area it's cleaning up. We're getting better with our angles, getting better with our tackling, just wrapping up and getting the runner down. And, when I was looking into Delaware and I see a running back 1 that's averaging over 7 yards per carry, I was like, oh, Lord, Joe Silver may have him a ball game this coming Friday. But, overall, this defense, I think the best way to sum them up is bend, don't break. You move the ball a lot between the 20s on them. You'll get some yardage. You'll get down close. But we've done a really exceptional job about keeping people out of the end zone, holding you to just 3 points. And I think in a game, like we have coming up this Friday, personally, I think it's going to be a shootout. You all are averaging 39 points per game in your 3 wins. I think we're around 35 points per game in all of our games played. I think this one has the potential to be a high scoring affair north of 30s for both of us. At the same time, I don't know what to expect from our offense. It's got to travel. You brought up the Toledo game, 2 turnovers in the first 5 plays of the game, and we're down 14-0. That will kill you. Momentum was all Toledo, and then they ran all over us the rest of the night, and we just never could get our footing and go. But defensively, I think we learned a lot from that game. We kind of got punched in the mouth. We kind of got made to look bad against a really good MAC opponent. And I think we've gotten a little bit better since then. We took a step forward versus Nevada. We took a step forward versus Missouri State. And I said it on our preview of this game on our version of it. We have to take another step forward defensively and offensively, quite frankly, if we want to go win this ball game. I have every bit of respect for this Delaware opponent, even though, I said all offseason, I know nothing about Delaware. Don't, hands up, guys. Anybody listening, don't shoot me. I just wasn't aware of your football program. And, obviously I knew the name Joe Flacco. I'll throw that out there. Knew that guy, knew where he came from. Obviously there was success. I thought it was interesting that you all won the 2003 1AA title right after we won it in 2002. But it was also funny that we hadn't played since like 1982. So just weird we hadn't crossed paths, both being good in those early 2000s in the FCS. But um, I now that I've gotten to know a lot more about Delaware, and just especially looking in this week, your home winning streak, 10-game home winning streak, 24-5 at home over the last 4+ seasons. The crowd's pushing 18,000 this season, and you're talking about being Parents Weekend on a Friday, pushing a sellout. I love to hear that. I love to hear programs that have good support. You're obviously winning a lot of ball games. Coach Carty's doing an amazing job. But our defense and our offense are going to be tested by a really well-balanced team with Delaware, and that bend don't break is going to have to continue. We're going to have to keep you out of the end zone as much as possible, because it might be a race to who gets to 40 first.
Yeah, or who gets the ball last, thinking about Delaware going through a heck of a barn burner against UConn in non-conference play, also at Delaware Stadium. That game made it that close to Delaware losing that home winning streak that you're alluding to. But I think in wrapping it up, what WKU in many ways is an aspirational program that Delaware would like to emulate in some respects, in the success and the consistency that I talked about to open up our segment. So it goes both ways. It certainly goes both ways, and looking forward to the way Delaware will be certainly asked to rise to the occasion against this caliber of opponent. Where can folks find Topper Talk as far as the Topper Talk podcast goes, in order to follow along with the team that could easily be in the Conference USA championship game by year end? I'm sure Delaware fans will want to be able to keep a gauge on what's to come for WKU across sports, as well as Delaware gets oriented to being a full member. So not just football, but I understand Topper Talk gets into a wide breadth of the athletics at WKU.
Yeah, so we're going to cover every sport. We're a year-round outfit. Basketball and football are kind of our main, uh, as far as episode headers. That's going to be what we headline with. But we cover every single sport, every single athlete. The main place I would suggest following us would be on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, at @topper_talk. That's where we're most active. We're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on all the places, social media wise. I think they're all @topper_talk, if I'm not mistaken. As far as listening to us audio wise, we're on every platform there as well. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the major platforms. If you want to find us, just search Topper Talk. You will. We also have video presentations with every single episode on YouTube. The channel is @Topper Talk Podcast there. Obviously, we would love to have any Delaware fans come follow. We love the engagement. It has increased huge this week already, and we're still early in the week. A lot more Delaware people have started following me, retweeting the episode. I love the engagement. I think we're a friendly, respectable bunch. I'm not on our preview episode saying we're going to blow you out. Why you're new to
Not
this
at all.
conference? I respect all of our opponents, even if I think if it's North Alabama and I think we're going to beat them by 50, you have to respect your opponent, because anything can happen. You don't play those games on paper. But Yeah, we'd love to have any Delaware people follow along. I try to follow back everyone as long as I know it's a real person and not a bot. I try to follow back. But yeah, love the engagement. Would love to have anyone that follows. And if you want to listen to our preview episode, you all have retweeted it. And obviously, when this one comes out, we'll do the same to, I want WKU fans in the same breath to be exposed to the Delaware side and perspective of what this matchup is going to look like.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, both in recording and in interacting in that way, like you're describing online. And you're right, it's been a great bunch overall in the league podcast roundtable. For folks not familiar yet, it's our collection of various fan-based podcasts covering different Conference USA schools and stuff. But this has been one of my favorites, certainly as it goes with the highly anticipated game Friday night, CBS Sports Network, Delaware and WKU. And with that, it's been our conversation with Topper Talk and Stephen Moffett. We'll continue with the Feathers and Field Goals podcast coming up next.
A little different format for